Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the MagneZONE. I'm Cossack11, and with me today is Sam
Hey,
and Clutch. See, I did it the opposite order this
Hey,
time.
what's up?
See,
What's up,
I
guys?
did. I didn't go down the list like I normally do.
I
Emerson
was so
couldn't quite
prepared.
make it. He just got back from traveling. His computer wasn't able to get set up in time. We look forward, hopefully, to seeing him back next week. So let's get a few things out of the way. First of all, this is a kind of a redo of episode 5 because episode 5 the audio levels weren't quite right and we didn't find out about this until it was already posted and it was kind of way too late to fix it. So I just privated that video and this is going to be episode 5. So in order to get caught up in the current RDL news, there's not going to be a general purpose topic today. There's still going to be a mon of the week. But there's not going to be a general purpose topic today, which I don't think anyone's going to really be too upset about because, frankly, right now, currently, most of the people listening to this are probably members of the RDL. And for those of you who aren't and who are here for the general purpose topics, we will be resuming those next week. We will be tackling hyper offense next week, in fact. We were supposed to do that last week, but like I said, technical difficulties, we couldn't, circumstances happened and here we are, but we're gonna catch ourselves back up with the RDL so that way we can just continue as normal from here on out instead of having to try and weirdly fit in topics and stuff like that. And so with that being said, we're gonna go over the divisional rematches, the first 2 weeks of them, because it's very important, and there's been a lot of big updates with that. So
Chips.
let's start with week 1, and we'll talk about who clinched slots because there have been a couple slots that have been clinched, but we'll talk about all that kind of stuff. Like we'll talk about what actually happened during the weeks, and then afterwards we'll talk about kind of the aftermath of the 2 weeks. We won't talk too much about the aftermath because we still got one more week of divisional rematches, and then another week after that. But we will talk about the aftermath of divisional rematches next week when we do the week 3 overview. But for now, week 1. And week 1, what a week it was. There was some serious upsets in week 1. And we're going to start, when my voice stops cracking, which maybe never, but...
we'll start someday.
So, so we're going to start, once I pull the spreadsheet up here, which I should have done beforehand, but here we are. And... All right, so we're going to start with the Alola division, mainly because it's kind of the most clear-cut of the divisions, and has been for quite some time. It's been pretty clear-cut.
It's been pretty safe.
So the 4 teams in the Alola division, we had the Galesburg Gliscors, the LA Chargebugs, Philadelphia Braviaries, and Chicago Taurus. Now, if I remember correctly, if I go here to the weekly results page, and scroll back up to last week, it was, sorry, I should have had all this ready beforehand. It was Chicago versus Philadelphia, and it was Galesburg versus LA, correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
Yes. And, oh wait, no.
No,
That was
that's
it.
right. You got it.
Oh, I got it? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
'Cause-
right. I was because I was seeing the Kennesaw LA result, but that was because of that was for a different week's battle. Anywho, so Galesburg won, I believe. Correct. It's been a while.
Yeah.
I didn't rewatch any of the matches,
Yeah.
but
Okay, so that was the one that was really, really
Right.
strange. They
we
had
started
a late
with this one
disconnect.
last time too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think that this is the
Super
one where they
They
Yeah,
were
very
trying to
odd.
recreate to get back to where they were
It was a hard
So a lot
watch
of-
because the replay that we
because
got,
recreation
yeah, because they
was
basically
not
were,
accurate.
well, they were trying to get to where they were trying
The
to
situation.
right. So they were basically feeding each other kills and things like that to try and reconstruct the point in the battle where it got stopped. Due to the
exactly that.
disconnect.
Which I completely thought was a weird decision to get that far in and then try to recreate.
Yeah, I feel like what might have been a better option. I mean, because we've had similar instances, and Well,
It's just a recreate the same
I
leads.
mean, we've had Clutches
Same
had a
protocol.
similar, or was it no? It was Sam that had a similar instance, wasn't it? With
Yeah,
Isn't that with Michael?
yeah, week one even because we
yeah,
got to turn 20 and it was just a back and forth where I think I had 6 and he had 5 at turn 20.
mm-hmm.
And we had a disconnect on my end.
Yeah,
And that was really unfortunate. But yeah, at that point he just said, it's up to us ultimately, but rules say same leads, fresh battle.
yeah,
And that's unfortunate for a lot of people. Like I know that it's
yeah,
difficult to play the same game
mm-hmm.
because you know what their
But,
first move was, right?
Yeah.
Like you know
but
what
you
they were
also
gonna
know you also have information on the sets and you
Yeah.
Yeah,
know
exactly.
how things
Yeah.
work. And
Because I actually had a
goes both ways.
similar-ish incident last season, but that was because of it
Hmm.
wasn't a disconnect, but it was a different it was a similar-ish type of issue with Pack. I feel like there's been some sort of hiccup every time I go to face Pack, either on his end or my end. It's
Yeah,
been,
it happens.
but
I had a similar thing with Pack last season where
yeah,
we were on like turn 30 and neither of us had lost a mon yet.
yeah. So it's
And
one
I
of
was
those
I was
things.
about to catch his Landorus with Surf
Yeah,
from my Hydreigon
it's one of
and
those
knock it
risks
out
that you
and
take
reseed.
with a Wi-Fi league. But I feel that the general overall kind of feel and intensity of a Wi-Fi league kind of makes up for the fact that you get those potential disconnects and things like that. Because I will
Maybe that's
say,
part of the appeal.
yeah, well,
The
after,
feeling of risk.
after I've done a couple battles in the Showdown League that Clutch and I are a part of, and I can safely say that yeah, there definitely feels like there's more at stake with every battle in a Wi-Fi league.
Mm.
I now understand more fully why people want to keep this league a Wi-Fi league. I think I can appreciate it more. I think now.
Fair enough.
I
So
think
I
we
have
should
a
play a showdown league because
go
it's like
ahead.
you lose that emphasis in your prep. I think
Yes,
because like
it really
when
is.
you do a Wi-Fi league, you have to gen, and when you gen,
You have to be very
you
particular
have to
about.
like
You have to keep an eye on every detail when you're doing that, and even if you're not genning, even if you're regular breeding,
but
even more so.
you still have to do the work. You have to put the work
Yeah,
in
you
to
have
get
to
those
put
mon in game.
there is some level of effort that needs to be put in. And for those of you who are thinking, oh, genning, that's like the easy way out, maybe so, but it still takes like it takes an hour to gen an
Oh
entire
what?
team at
Not with PK
least.
Hex anymore.
Well,
Not Pika Hex.
I don't use
And
I don't
it took me like about a minute to get.
Oh,
Sam's team
I use
to
Action
last
Replay
match.
because I don't want to install custom firmware on my
Ah,
3DS.
Yeah. So
rip.
I want to ask a question real quick about Galesburg versus LAC because we can
Yeah.
talk about the fact that the match was
Yeah.
messy, but
Yeah.
also the bit of the battle that we saw was basically LAC had Cresselia and Galesburg I think had Suicune.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
kind of the TLDR summary that Meta gave us,
given.
Meta being the coach of LAC, he just mentioned he's like, well, my crest got toxicked by Suicune, and then it was crippled, and then Galesburg went into Megaladios, clicked Calm Mind, and swept. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, was there? My question though is, I mean, at that point, I don't remember all of the details, but maybe Clutch, you can comment on this as well. Like, was there actually really a path for the Charger Bucks to win, you think, at that point? Because it seemed to me, on looking at it, that it was pretty firmly Galesburg's game.
When you have Suicune out against Crest there, I think part of it, I think the thought process on meta is that he's initiating a Calm Mind War between Crest and Suicune. I don't know the Crest is set, but you're potentially initiating the Calm Mind War because what you've seen on Suicune at that time was Restly fucking Scald.
Yeah.
So the natural assumption is to think Calm Mind would be the fourth move.
Yeah, because that's the traditional Crocune set.
I mean, but I guess Galesburg had Toxic over Calm Mind just to catch Suicune potentially, not Suicune Crest potentially, which makes sense.
Yeah, that was good tech. Yeah, that was good tech.
That was very good tech. I think maybe if he swapped out, he could have extended the game, but I don't think there were many paths where he could have won.
No,
at that point.
Because the whole idea about Crocune is that you can't just toxic your way out of that.
It was he bluffed the Kroken, which
Yeah.
he
Well,
bluffed the
yeah.
Kroken extremely well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is when you bluff the crow, because like bulk is weak to a couple things. Bulk is weak to toxic in particular. You can work your way around burns. I've worked my way around burns many times with bulk. You can work your way around paralysis with bulk. But although I will say paralysis is probably a close second. Sleep is also pretty bad, and freeze is just bad no matter who you are.
Oh,
but
yeah.
but I think toxic is probably still like the biggest worry of any bulk team because at the end of the day, the whole point of bulk is being able to sit there and tank. If you can't do that, and you can't, if you have decent recovery, you can wall your way through a burn. You cannot wall your way through toxic because it does progressively more damage every single turn. To the point where
reason that I think that there's a reason that toxic spikes are one of the best hazards in the draft format.
Yeah,
it's
a very good hazard. Well, yeah, and the other reason for that is because
just due to the fact that you can get there, you can put T spikes out. They don't have a poison type. It will sit there the entire match and just wear at their team. And you can sit behind your prep and make safe plays, and they can't do anything about it.
Right,
they're on timers.
And the thing with toxic spikes is the other reason it's good in draft is a lot of draft teams don't have a poison type.
Which you should. It's a natural thing you should have.
I think it is. I do think it is kind of an important thing to have, mainly to stop toxic spikes, but also because it can hit fairy type now.
Get fairy resist.
Yep.
The fairy resist.
And that's very important. But moving on.
Yeah.
I think that he's definitely like it might have taken a minor miracle to get him out of that.
Yeah.
He would have needed to play off. He would have needed a choke.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly.
Yeah, Neek would have had to choke it.
Yeah. And Neek
the other thing is,
Neek doesn't really seem to choke, so Neek is very good.
They play they play very safe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of high level mid ground plays that you see Neek make.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean,
I've never seen much aggression, but it's very high level mid ground.
See, Neek is one of those stealth players where they have a very solid and grounded play style that it's not very flashy. You're not going to be like,
but they're going to win a lot of games with it.
And they have. They've done exceptionally well, and they've been under the radar this entire time. For a lot of people.
Everyone's talking about Santoro and Omega, and Neek is still running with the best record in the league.
Oh yeah, and I mean the thing is as well. I think that the fact that he has bonds, like he has a really solid kind of middle core, like you said.
Very solid synergetic core.
There's just a lot going on there, and the thing is that as soon as he has an idea that Mimikyu can come out or that Megalodios could come out, he's really, really good with the timing of those.
It's over.
Well, yeah. When
it's legitimately over if one of those two gets a good spot. He knows when they put that spot in.
That's the thing. Despite their like kind of cautious and methodical play style, when they see the opportunity to go for the throat, they do not hesitate.
Yeah, I mean, Mimikyu's an all-star for a reason. It's got 15 kills. I mean, that thing is insane.
And it's
Megalodios and Mimikyu together.
And it's all because of the timing.
Megalodios has what, 16?
14. So the two of them have 29 kills. Like his top two kill leaders combine for 29. I mean, it's just insane how much work that those two put in.
Right. And
you say 16 and 14? That's 30.
It's no. It's 15 and 14.
Oh, I thought you said 16. My bad.
Yeah. So do we want to move on to the next match as well?
Yep. Let's move on to Chicago versus Philadelphia.
I think I couldn't really remember the details of this one last week. I think it was actually a fairly good match.
It seemed pretty good.
Yeah.
From what I saw anyway. It wasn't really, I'm not going to say it was like standout. Like I'm not going to call it match of the week, but
no.
But I might be a little biased in that. When we get to Johto, you'll see. Anyway, but it was solid plays all around. I'm glad that Storm has been able to pick up a much better record this season than last season. I think she's a lot more comfortable with this team than she was with the team she had last season. And
Definitely.
I think next season might be her season.
Yeah, if she continues to make steps, I think that like continued iterations of teams that kind of get closer and closer and closer to what she's looking for in a play style
Right.
will benefit her. There's
Yeah.
there's a couple plays every now and then that
You go, Storm, no.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and it's kind of I'm in a kind of similar boat with that because
Mhm.
it's the same with me.
There's a
Like,
few
I think
players
that's
there, yeah.
I think that that's a characteristic that I mean we've talked about this before, and we were talking about
Yeah.
this before we started recording, that the level of competition in this league is actually fairly high.
yeah, even
there's-
I would say like
Mhm.
even the like lower ranked coaches in this league are
They
top,
still put up a fight.
like they're above average battlers.
And I think
They
that
still put
shows
up a decent fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I think that shows through in the fact that we do have upsets in this league.
Yes.
It's not that there's not such a skill disparity, and we know that we have good top players. I mean,
Yeah.
people like Santoro and
Neek,
Excessive and
yeah.
Omega and Neek make solid plays throughout, but like, and we'll talk about this later, like their upsets still happen.
Yep.
So
Frequently.
No one is
even.
undefeated, and
I mean-
the best record still within one game.
Yeah.
And even like, Chicago, for instance, they're sitting at a 4-9 record now, but they have upsets
their
over
games are
Galesburg.
close.
Like,
Yeah. They're one of the few people who's beaten Neek.
yeah. So, anyways, do we want to keep it moving
Yeah,
up the list?
yeah. Let's
Yeah,
go up the list. We're
keep
gonna
it
go.
moving,
We're
yeah.
gonna go to the Hoenn division now because we can.
Hey.
And we'll start with it was Kennesaw versus
There's EC.
EC, yep.
right. Yes, and they did that over Showdown.
Good match.
That was
'Cause
that was a
was
very
EC.
good match.
That was a great match. Yeah.
I think we.
Almost
Go ahead.
got brought back
Oh yeah.
like in game with the Torn. It's a good set. It's
Mhm.
good
Yeah.
set.
Mm-hmm.
And Dreadplate on the
Oh, the dread plate fling.
Yep.
That was
Yeah.
that was tech. That was so good.
that was pure tech.
When I s-
Yeah, Nadia likes that set. I mean, she's run it
It's a good
before,
set.
but it was such a good set for
that's one
taking out
thing.
Bettini.
Nadia's got some really she's had some really tech sets. Like when I faced her earlier in the season, she had her Arcanine was like tailor built to beat Gliscor
Mhm.
because
Arcanine's a good mon.
So good.
she used burn up
She's
on bulky
run that a few
Arcanine.
times.
Yeah, but like
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that.
I think that Nadia, like, just looking at her playstyle and from conversations with her as well, she's somebody who's trying to figure out how to tech and
Yeah.
is starting to kind of play with things. Like,
Yeah.
she actually mentioned the Fling Dreadplate set to me at one
Mhm.
point. Is like, she's like, well, what I'm looking for is to be kind of a little bit unpredictable.
Right.
And so,
That's never
on
a
the
bad thing.
yeah,
No.
on the road to that is trying out some things and having them like work some weeks and maybe
Yeah.
not work others.
Yeah.
Or even just discovering that things that you tried are not very good. But like the
Right.
dread plate almost
think
came
when
through
you're-
there.
Yeah.
When you're teching, you have to have that be part of a game plan. You
Right.
can't just bring tech to tech.
Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
just bring tech to tech. And we might. I think we'll save. I think teching is going to be a whole that's going to be a general purpose topic. So we'll get into
That would be fun.
I really because
Yeah.
it is a very important aspect of draft league because in ladders a lot of the times you're running into like a
Beat
few
everything.
yeah where
Trying to get general coverage.
yeah where
Mm-hmm.
and because you're running into teams that could be using the same mons as you or some of the same mons as you where that doesn't happen in draft league. And
Yeah.
in draft league, at least have a general idea of what your opponent has. So teching is much more important because if you don't tech, or even just a little bit, even if you ignore even just the smallest amount of teching, you're gonna suffer. But we'll get
Yeah.
to that different. week.
So this match ended 1-0, and
Yeah.
it was Porygon 2 versus Tornadus. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember like the comment that Emerson made at the end was that he was fearing the superpower.
Right.
But I mean, I think Porygon was sitting at, I think, like 64%, and I think it took 34% from the acrobatics.
Well out of range.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty well out of range too.
Yeah.
So because at first I saw that,
especially since it's not stab superpower.
yeah, if it was stab superpower,
It would have done about the same damage, I think. if my math is correct, it's 110 plus stab is 1.5. And
Yeah.
I actually would have done less. I think superpower actually went for less.
No,
Yeah.
I think superpower hits for just a little bit more because acrobatics is base
think it's
110, superpower is base 120.
Yeah, but acrobatics is stab.
Yeah, but superpower is
Oh,
super effective, right?
That's
so
true.
If you're just working from the base power,
you get like 40. So you get like 40.
Yeah. You get
It's still
more damage, but it's not enough to
more.
KO.
Yeah, it's
So
not enough more.
Maybe a crit superpower would have
A
done
crit
A crit
superpower,
superpower.
but I bet a crit acrobatics could have probably came close, if not done it.
Maybe like a high roll crit acrobatics might have done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't know the
Yeah,
IVs for those sets. We don't really know where the rolls landed.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to. Is we again. I said this earlier when we were talking before, but we can theory craft all day long about it. But what happened happened, and so
it's very true. So, do we want to move on and have? Do you want to?
Yeah.
You can have Clutch talk about Kansas versus Rochester.
Yeah, Clutch, tell us.
That was a really tight match. Apparently there was a couple missprings on Rochester side, which really kind of shook. I don't know. I'm not sure what to really say about it. Kind of shook him a little bit. He's supposed to bring like essentially Sash Spam.
Oh.
Because he was supposed to bring like 30 gigawatts. He had Sash Berlin and Sash Sneasel. So at one point he hadn't defogged and he brought in his Sneasel on rocks.
Gotcha.
And then died to Focus Blast.
Yeah.
I felt like a lot of it was me. I felt like I was trying to play out of the bag, just because like the matchup I had, he had a lot of stuff for what I had been successful with in our former match, so that was a bit frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
There was a couple moments I had. I pulled the Z belly drum on Zangoose out finally. So that was super fun.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So excited about that.
That Z belly drum, I was like, oh no.
Like a +6 quick attack, just straight O code.
Yeah.
The nectar.
Turns out, ladies and gentlemen, that Zangoose has a pretty high attack stat, and when you maximize said attack stat, quick attack does a feral amount of damage.
Yep. Not a fair amount, a feral amount.
Yes.
Zangoose is a freaking beast.
Oh yeah, Zangoose is one of my favorite mons. I had him season 1.
It's a nice tier 4, tier 5 mod.
Yeah, for sure.
Just because it's his little small rampage. It'll come out there, get his cock score, and start pushing buttons on people.
Yeah. The trick with Zangoose is you have to be very careful with the timing, because Zangoose is pretty frail.
You know when to come in.
Yeah.
You know when to go in with Zangoose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you need like a low tier, like physical presence, like a good normal type breaker, Zangoose is a great monster.
Oh yeah. So that pretty much covers, I think, the Hoenn division. So normally that would mean go up to Johto, but I think we'll save Johto for last.
Yeah.
And we're gonna go to Kanto, and Kanto we had Dracos versus Bulbasaurs.
Yeah, that was an ugly match to watch.
Yeah.
The hacks.
Yeah, there was a lot of hacks that match. Poor, give credit where credit's due to Santoro, though. The guy
playing that match out.
Yeah, and he's had a rough run of luck with hacks and such over the past few.
High roll here, high roll there.
Yeah.
Crit here, slept there.
Yeah.
Frozen here. Stuff.
Yeah, it's been messy for him.
And
but
I think he's now dropped from the top of the division just kind of because of it.
Yeah, it's. Oh man. We just got another match just came in, I think, for this week.
Oh, was that a?
Or no, wait, was Philadelphia versus Galesburg, was that done yet or no?
That's done.
Okay,
yeah, that was
never
done.
mind.
That's not new.
No,
I think we're waiting on excessive and
excessive and ballistic.
Right. Yeah.
That would be a good match.
It will be.
Moving on. Well, speaking of ballistic, Ballistic faced Adam It was Oregon Golducks versus the Akron Alakazams in first week of divisional rematches, and that was a
That was a
fight.
doozy.
That was a fight.
Ballistic remains undefeated in games that he has actually played.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
That is
The one loss was a forfeit.
Hmm. Yeah,
Just like timing issues and all that.
not bad considering he was handed. Was he the one who was handed?
0-14. Owen
Okay.
is in Vision 0-14.
Yeah.
Yep. It was, yeah. I mean, it's crazy to me that he has made such a run with this team that he's like very possibly going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Me and Ballistic are the two hottest teams in the RDL right now.
Yep, it's true.
Yeah. We'll go into the Johto division now, and we'll have Sam talk about his battle with the Ohio Ninetales.
Sure.
And Mike.
That was actually, I mean, honestly, it was one of my favorite battles from this season.
It was a good battle. It was a very solid battle. Johto had two of the most solid battles this week, in my opinion.
Okay,
yeah, for sure. I think that so what happened is I think it came up earlier in the podcast even that I had that unfortunate disconnect versus Michael in week 1. So this was a big match for me because just looking at the stats.
Yeah.
It was, well, personally, because it was like, you know, kind of coming around again. And when I played my week 1, I was still, I mean, to be honest, very rusty as far as playing Pokemon went.
Right.
So, and I think that, I played well in our first match before the disconnect. And
you were so rusty, you 6-0'd me.
Yeah, I prepped a little bit harder for that week. I had the thought, I was like, I'm not going down 0-2 right now.
I blame that on the fact that everyone talked me up so much.
Yeah.
As like this as like this demon, as the stall Satan himself.
Yeah.
92 turns.
Yeah. I think that one of the things that it helped me confidence wise to win the game for sure.
I'm glad. I'm glad I helped.
Yeah. So anyways, but
I'm not bitter.
Back to the game at hand. I apologize. But the reason that Michael's match was big for me as well was because so first off, Pac, Michael, and I were all tied record-wise.
Going into the divisional rematches, they were all tied record-wise, and it was
and there was a three-way tie.
Yeah,
everyone was 5 and 6. We had all dropped a lot of matches. None of us had done particularly well. The thing was, there was a 3-way tie because I had been beaten by Michael. Michael had been beaten by Pac, and Pac had been beaten by me in the first round of divisional matches. Mm-hmm. And so, looking at my matchup with Michael, I just figured it's like, well, there's a good chance that Michael and I end up with a tied record. And if I'm going to make that, like, if I'm going to win that tiebreaker, the first thing I need to do is actually beat him. Because if he beats me in both games, he owns that tiebreaker no matter what our differential is.
Yep.
My differential is a little bit better than Michael's right now. So I figured that if I could beat him, I'd set his differential back further, move mine up a little bit.
And also your record against him would be 1-1.
Yeah, exactly. So that 1-1 record makes it defer to overall differential. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I was looking for. And so if I didn't win that game, not only would I be a game behind him, but I would need to one up his record in order to have any chance of making the playoffs. So huge game. I mean, it was the biggest game I've played this season, and it's really not close. And the result that happened was I pulled it off 2-0. And that was honestly, it was kind of a big thing for me because I think Michael played fairly well. I played fairly well. I called a couple of good switches. I felt like I was kind of getting back in my rhythm after dropping 4 in a row. I mean, really, because for the week 8, I think because this didn't get discussed in last week's podcast, I'm going to bring it up again. I wrote a 2,500 word team summary with Pac.
Oh yeah.
It was the trade week mega thread.
Yeah.
And we just wrote just a massive wall of text for that. Mm-hmm. And for I wrote a whole bunch about each team except for my team where I wrote 2 things. I just wrote for the summary, the Clinks suck, LMAO, and then followed it with the sneaky big question is how are they going to win any more games when their coach is so bad? And then from the moment I wrote that onwards, I have been 2-4. And what immediately followed was a 4-game losing streak.
Yeah.
So I spoke into existence my own trash. And so that was, I mean, I think that one of the things was that I had that game against Meta that kicked off the losing streak. And I just remember, like, I expected him to make more mistakes, and I kind of played to his mistakes rather than playing to his obvious moves. And that just really hurt my confidence, because it was just like, there were moments in that game where it's like I had gone in with a game plan, and if I had just followed it, I felt like I could have won.
Yeah.
And so not doing that, and as a result losing the game, just, that hurt. And that that was the beginning of the slide. And there was other causes for why I lost, other games. But ultimately it was just like I felt like my confidence took a hit from just not making the obvious play, or not making the good play, and losing as a consequence. So yeah, beating Michael was not only like a big victory for me, but it was also I felt like it was me kind of coming back into form a little bit more. And also, I mean, talking to Michael afterwards, it was nice to hear from him. And he was just like, that was one of the better battles I've played lately. And like, that was intense, and like, I actually enjoyed that. Yeah. So it was a fun match for both of us. I think the big kind of clinching moment for me was that he brought Mega Swampert, and I think I managed to get my Rotom wash in on it without taking much damage and burn the thing.
Yeah.
At which point,
key.
Yeah, because that thing would have run through my team in rain. I brought, like, the Rotom Wash was my one thing that I had for it. And so landing the burn and then KOing it with a couple Hydro Pumps, that was the point in the match where I felt like I was, pretty well in control.
Yeah.
So anyways, do we want to talk about the beginnings of the hashtag Revenge Tour?
So we talked a little bit about potential Revenge Tour when we were talking about the lead up to the divisional rematches. And the Revenge Tour is, I got beat by Sam, Pack, and Mike, which is the New York Clinks, Ohio Ninetales, Indianapolis Ponytas. And in divisional rematches is my chance is my chance to kind of, get some of my own back. I can't make playoffs. I'm long outside of that race, but I can screw up the playoff race for my division well enough if I go on the Revenge Tour. And let me tell you, the Revenge Tour got off to a great start against Pack. I'm going to just say this right now. I 6-0'd him. Now, part of that is because I froze his Hawlucha with the one ice move I brought with me, which was Ice Beam on Quagsire.
Yeah.
And that just set him back a lot. Now, later on, there's a lot of talk, and I was pretty sure this was the case during the battle, and it was confirmed for me after the battle. He over-prepped for Volcarona and Latios, and I didn't bring either of them. I brought the bulk. I brought Amoonguss, Quagsire, Gliscor, Mega Sableye, Turtonator, and Chansey.
Nice. Turtonator is the only offensive mon.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And Turtonator, lesser known fact about Turtonator, his physical defense is not to be argued with.
131, I think.
It's pretty hefty. He's got a hefty physical defense, and he hits pretty hard on the special attack side. Not, maybe not the hardest, but hard enough.
Base 97 is not bad.
No.
Yeah.
Especially for a tier 5 mon. And he's Fire Dragon, which means that he has a lot of really good defensive. Like Fire Dragon is definitely not the worst defensive typing I can think of. So,
You mean Ice Grass?
Well,
Yeah, that's bad.
But basically, I just walled him out is what it really came down to. All my there was a couple standouts. Quagsire, I think, was a standout.
Oh yeah, no question.
Gliscor was the standout on that. But my team as a whole did every part of that team did its job and did it well. Chansey got the rocks up and walled effectively as it's supposed to. Gliscor it defogged when it needed to. Actually, I didn't defog, but it was ready to defog if necessary, and it roosted at the proper times and knocked off items, which was important. Actually, speaking of rocks, I think that was one of the I think there are two major moments that kind of turned the tide. The first one is the fact that I froze the Halucha. Because that was his win condition. The second thing that kind of, I think, that helped me win for certain was that we both had rocks up on each other. But my team can live with rocks a lot better than his team could. Most of my team could handle the rocks just fine. And for reference, that's because of my 6 mons, 4 of them have a recovery move. And of the 2 that didn't have a recovery move, one of them was Amoonguss, and Amoonguss has Giga Drain, and it also has it has Regenerator. So I just have to switch it out, and he would get it, he would chip it a little bit, and then I would, and then he'd switch something into it, and I'd switch it out again, and then switch it back in on full health. So it was rough. He had a hard time trying to break me.
Oh yeah.
And if he might have done a little bit better had he gotten rid of the rocks sooner.
Yeah, that's possible.
I don't know. I don't know that. I'm not going to say that's a major deciding factor, but it certainly helped me more than it helped him.
I would agree. I think that one thing that hurt him quite a bit was the Lycanroc midday bring.
Yes, that too.
Because
I don't think it was really a big break. There wasn't really a big breaker on his side.
No.
Yeah. To make it just break. Fast.
Well, and I was expecting, planned for Mega Charizard X. Because it's you kind of have to. It's a beefy boy.
Yeah, for sure.
It hits like a freight train, and I was worried that he was going to bring. I thought he was going to bring Sub Dragon Dance, and I was worried he was going to bring Sub D Dance, and that was the biggest threat to my team.
Your team has no Dragon Roses,
right?
Yeah,
and so I was like, if he Sub D Dances, I am basically dead here. But he didn't bring it, which was great. I was very happy about that.
Yeah.
And like you said, he brought Lycanroc because, like we mentioned
Lycanroc
earlier,
it was 100% for Volcarona.
Exactly.
It was 100% for Latios.
Yeah.
I mean, because that thing, it outspeeds Latios by a narrow margin, and it can crunch and probably do a ridiculous amount of damage. I think it was life orbed.
It can do enough damage. It was life orbed, yes.
Yeah.
It was life orbed, and it would have done enough damage to make Latios very unviable to use, especially with rocks up. It would have basically essentially forced me to either defog myself, or it would have forced me to sacrifice Latios. So, and it was a fair assumption on his part, because I had after acquiring Latios, I had brought Latios in just about every single match, if not every single match, and mainly because it was at the time, for a long time, it was my only offensive threat besides just regular Sharpedo, and Sharpedo is a decent sweeper. It's a decent late game sweeper.
It's a cleanup. It's a good cleanup.
It's a good cleanup mon. And you know what? We'll get into that in just a bit. But it's a good cleanup mon. But it just can't get there as it's not
frail.
Yeah,
it's not frailty. It'll die to anything.
A quick attack from just about anything. Priority from anything will take care of your Sharpedo pretty easily.
Especially regular Shark.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially regular Shark.
Mega Shark's a little bit bulkier, but no.
Yeah, not much. So anyway, I was really happy about that. For one, it gave me confidence back, because at that point I was 1-10. So getting that second win and 6-0ing someone who had 6-0'd me earlier in the season.
The 6-0 revenge.
It felt good. It felt really good. And, to his credit, he was not as salty as I probably would have been about the whole deal.
Especially the freeze.
Okay, talking about that freeze, though, because... so when we were setting up the match, Pac ran into a little hiccup with his team. There was, like, something that wasn't gemmed properly or something, or he had to do a slight alteration with his team to get it to be allowed to be used. And, so... After he did that, he went to find me on the list, and I was connected to the internet. He looked to find me on the list, couldn't find me. Ran into my character walking around though, and made me a VIP. And when he left, my character said, "Don't catch a cold." And he's like he typed that and he's like, "So your character just said to me, 'Don't catch a cold,' and I said, 'You heard me, don't catch a cold.'"
And he did.
And he did. Well,
froze.
Well, and this is what happened, because then he said, "I swear to God," he's like, "I swear to God, if you freeze me." And then I freeze him, and he's just like, I'm just like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And he's just like, "God damn it."
Yep. That was... the spirits of Nintendo spoke to him. They warned him.
They warned him, but it was too late. He was already dead. So yeah. Moving on to week 2. Yes, week 2 of divisional replays. And we're gonna start with Johto, since we can just continue on.
We can just roll into it.
Segue into Johto. My battle versus Sam. Now we'll both talk a little bit about it. So I'll go first on what my planning was. So for the first thing I was thinking, because the way my team is situated now, I've got a fair amount of offensive power at my disposal should I choose to use it. And I was like, Sam just saw me bulk out Pac. And it's a reasonable assumption that I'm going to stick with what's been working for me, which is slightly on the bulkier side, if not, straight up bulk. And bulk is one of my main strengths as a trainer. It's one of the things I'm good at using. I didn't go bulk. I went as offensive as I possibly could. I brought Volcarona, Latios, Turtonator, Sharpedo, Gliscor, and Shuckle. I was going to bring Quagsire. Clutch talked me out of it. And in fact, Shuckle was the reason for my demise, but it was more my decision than any failing on Shuckle's part. I led with Sticky Webs against Mega Diancie.
Oops.
Diancie. Yeah.
Yeah, and that just ended me. Now I'm not going to say that 100% sealed my doom, because the match was actually close, but it certainly did not help me.
Oh no, it didn't help at all.
And I'll actually let Sam take it away for the next part of this.
I do have to say, after my team prep, I felt pretty good about this match, because Clutch and I built together, went over everything. There were a couple key points in the build process.
The hacks are set.
The hacks are set.
So evil.
Okay, what started as I'm okay, because here's the thing: is that hacks are set. The pride was almost my downfall here. I do want to mention that, and we'll get to why that's true. But oh my gosh, Clutch and I are kind of throwing together teams, bouncing ideas off.
They were in a lab, cackling evilly with lots of billowing chemicals everywhere.
I'm telling you,
that is my life.
Yes, Clutch. I said this before the podcast as well. Clutch is the Q of the RDL. He's the one handing out gadgets in 007.
Clutch is everyone's front office.
Yeah, Clutch is everyone's front office. It's true. Clutch knows all. Clutch sees all these days.
Yeah,
everyone is
I gave the set I was gonna run, and Clutch slightly modified it, but I didn't want to go too in depth with team building with
Okay.
Clutch, mainly because I didn't want to hand him that much power. Like,
Yeah.
he knows every detail of like everyone's
Dude,
teams.
when I don't know how to IV something, or sorry, when I don't know how to EV something, I'm like, hey, Clutch, do a magic. Tell me what I should IV. Tell me where I should put IVs in 5 different stats to make this mon ridiculous.
And he
Oh,
does.
yeah.
He does.
Because if your team doesn't feature at least one ridiculously out-teched mon, what are you doing in life?
I've had something with EVs in 5 stats like the last 3 or 4 weeks, I think.
Oh, it's
At least
beautiful.
one mon.
So, anyways,
I sent him to Sam because he loves
Yeah.
that.
I love it so much. It's so happy. But anyways, back to this Haxorus set, because we're building, and I happened upon Haxorus just because I'm thinking like, oh, hey, Haxorus would be useful because if he brings Mega Sableye, I can taunt that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I for no reason that taunt is really good against
bulk.
Against bulk and against like, and really the way I looked at it is that there was no way, like, even if you brought like the offensive line that I didn't really expect you to bring, but that you brought anyway, taunt comes in handy when you're dealing with, like Haxorus as a stall breaker. Like, taunt has applications. I think it's something that people like when they're starting out. It's a useful move.
Taunt, like if you do it right, taunt can shut down setup sweepers too.
Oh yeah, exactly. And like the thing is, there just like I said, looking at your team, there was no way there wasn't going to be something there that I couldn't taunt for useful effect.
Exactly.
But the funny thing is, I bring it up, and I think like Clutch and I both had the realizations. Like, he doesn't really have any dragon resists. Like no steel types, no dragon.
Actually, he has 0 dragon resist.
I have no dragon resist.
And so that was an incredible moment for me. I was looking at it and being, oh. And so Clutch throws a set at me that's just taunt, dragon dance, and outrage. And I was like,
just 3 moves.
Just 3 moves. And I was like, I think you said, you're like, I don't know what to run for the 4th. And I was like, I think I should run substitute. And your response was effing do it. Clutch and I both got so excited about this Haxorus. And I sent it to Adam because I was like, hey, Adam, check this out. Because Adam and I were talking one day. I was like, hey, Adam, check this out. I'm bringing this against Cossack. And he was like, he's like, mono outrage mono outrage Haxorus. Seriously, he has Clefable. I was like, no, he dropped that.
Yeah, I did.
And so I was just like, I was giddy with this thing because it was a mono outrage Haxorus with Lumberry. If I could get it behind a substitute on something that it could set up on and go for 2 dragon dances, it was 4 game. At least 4 of your mons were dying if I got low rolls on
that would have been game. And I'm glad that's not exactly what happened, because
now here's the thing though, is that I inadvertently made a pretty good play after the DNC
after the sticky webs.
The sticky web that landed on your side because you used sticky web on a Mega DNC. Because you immediately went to Gliscor to defog, which is a good move. But I went to Haxorus because I thought to myself, this is a Shuckle. I can probably set up on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to go for this. So I switched in Haxorus with fully intending to just set up on whatever was there. And when you sent out Gliscor, I thought the defog was pretty obvious. I went for the taunt to prevent it. And I switched out there because, to be honest, I just didn't want to give away the set quite yet.
Yeah.
I at that point, I was like, I wasn't ready to try and set up on something that was going to Earthquake. If Earthquake had been I assume that Earthquake wasn't a 2-hit KO. I'm almost sure it wasn't. But at that point,
I would say probably not for your Haxorus.
The Haxorus had very little bulk. It was actually invested just so that it would outspeed.
It might have been though, because I did put I dumped all my speed EVs from that thing and put it all into attack.
Okay, well then it would have hit
and switched the defensive EVs to special defensive on the Gliscor.
Okay, so that thing would have probably it could have reasonably been, because a stab Earthquake, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
It could have been I didn't know what that thing was gonna do, so I switched out. You went for knockoff. And I mean, we went on from there. What ended up happening though is that Diancie put in work this week.
It shut down the defog.
Haxorus shut down the defog, and then through some combination of moves, I ended up with my Diancie in on. You switched your Gliscor into it. I'm just trying to remember what you switched out of. But whatever the case, Diancie rattled off 3 kills in a row.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it did.
And the thing,
I'll tell you why it rattled off 3 kills in a row. First of all, the Gliscor was specially defensive, but not specially defensive enough to handle 2 Moonblasts from a fully specially offensive Diancie.
Yeah, that's more like a Heatran.
Yeah,
it was more ready for
it. Was ready. It was ready. Heatran? It was ready to deal with Heatran. That was already no bueno in your favor. Also, then I sent in Turtonator. Now, Turtonator had Flash Cannon.
Yeah, that's true.
And I was stupid, and I was thinking of my calcs, which were not taking into account fully offensive Mega Diancie. Oof. And I still, if I had Shell Smashed, I might have been able to outspeed. Might have.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think so. Not against a fully sped out, so probably not. But like,
yeah,
it was. It would have been a lot more of a near thing. And for my brain just thought, oh, I'm gonna get him with Flash Cannon, and then I got outsped and Moonblasted. There was just it was a comedy of errors on my side of the field.
I would never have guessed that a Mega Diancie would outspeed a Turtonator.
I would. Shush! I was in like panic mode because like my Gliscor was supposed to live a little longer than that, and I was already shook because I was a little off balance mentally because of the sticky webs and not real, and just like I was kicking myself. I think for pretty much the entire match, I was kicking myself for that dumb choice and move. Like I'm thinking to myself, Stealth Rocks would have been better, and Stealth Rocks is what ended up happening because you used it from. So I ended up with Stealth Rocks in the first turn, Stealth Rocks and sticky webs on my side of the field, and nothing on Sam's side of the field, and I'm like, oh my god, this is a nightmare. I'm like, I have completely miscalculated.
That was a very, very good first turn for me.
Yeah, I'd say so. So I think then I brought in, didn't I bring in Volcarona, which already lost half of its health?
What happened? I remember this sequence pretty well because what happened was I took out Gliscor, you sent in Turtonator, I took out Turtonator, I went for the Moonblast just thinking, screw it, I'm going all out with this thing, and Turtonator's special defense is pretty low. I'm pretty sure I can OHKO this.
And you did.
And I did. Then you sent in Latios as kind of damage control because you were running Scarflottie. Surf was a good coverage option for me because it hit, a good coverage against me because it hit both Diancie and Heatran.
Which was the point, yes.
And yeah, because Heatran is definitely going to switch in and try and take Latios's attacks for sure. And the Surf, I knew that from full health that wouldn't KO. Or I was like pretty reasonably confident. I
knew it wouldn't either. I was, again, you were right. I was in damage control mode.
Yeah. So that was I saw that as a damage control thing. And to me, it was just like, I can get this Scarflottie. Or the alternative to me was that even if that had KO'd, like if it had been a crit or if it was a roll, I actually haven't done the calc. So I don't know.
What I should have done at that moment is I should have switched in the Sharpedo.
See, that's where sticky webs hurt you though. Because even after a protect... I would still have outsped.
That's true. And and the Sharpedo had its moment. It came later though.
Oh yeah. And so at the point of like I took out Latios, I had 15 health with my Diancie left. Yeah. And you sent in Volcarona. That was the point at which I made the executive decision that I was going for the 6-0. Because I had lost nothing and just taken out half your team in 3 turns.
Yeah, most of my best a couple of like you got my defogger and my best pivot, and you nailed my best sweeper. So
and Volcarona was a good sweeper as well, if not for the fact that I had Choice Banded like in Rock in the back. And the result of all this was that I switched in Heatran as you went for the Savage Spin out, right?
Yep.
And Heatran took
nice 40 damage.
So Heatran quad resists that stuff, and
I know.
KO'd with the Fire Blast, and that's when did Shuckle come back in at that point?
Yes, to Stealth Rock.
Yes. Now, I think at that point I was pretty confident that I had the match won because I had,
Yeah.
I mean, for one, like I had done the calc. I've talked about this outside the podcast, but I had done the calc for Sharpedo, and I just for one, I knew that it was not going to live a Choice Banded Accelerock if it was below 70% health. Like the minimum Choice Band Accelerock did was 70%. So I figured there was going to be some way that I could get it there. You know, Life Orb recoil because it runs Life Orb a whole lot.
Yeah.
But my error and the thing that really like, you know, especially if I hadn't had Lycanroc or if in the course of the battle, if things had gone a different way and you had like sacked your Volcarona earlier and taken my Lycanroc with it because I had just thought, oh well, Volcarona's not there.
Like if I had sacked the Volcarona, or if I had sacked the Volcarona and like arcade the Lycanroc.
Yeah. If there was some way that you had gotten ahead of the Lycanroc such that it couldn't come out and take out Sharpedo with the Accelerock, that was your game. 100%. But like the error that I made it being up 6-2 was that I went into Haxorus on your Shuckle as it went for Stealth Rocks. I was just like, well, I don't care. And really what I should have done, I kind of gone back and forth in my head about how this should have gone. Maybe I should have gone to Deancey for like the Stealth Rocks and just kind of sacked it. But also it just didn't have any good moves to hit Shuckle. Like I could Moonblast, I guess, but the thing is, I got Encored into Substitute and then had to switch out as you went to Sharpedo. And from there, what happened? I mean, you want to talk about this part?
Okay, so this is
your flare of glory.
This is where I knew I was going to lose because I knew that he had Accelerock on that Lycanroc, and I knew that I was not going to be able to tank it. I was pretty sure I wouldn't even be able to tank it on full health, and I knew I wasn't going to be full health by the time he brought it in. So I was pretty darn sure that unless he choked, Lycanroc was going to kill my Sharpedo. What ended up happening is I switched in Sharpedo then. I took out the sub, and he was still... Were you still locked in sub at that point?
I think I switched immediately after being locked in.
You switched after I locked into sub. So I didn't take out the sub. Right, you went to Rotom. And Rotom was on pretty high health. Reasonably high health.
60%-ish percent, 65.
Yeah. So here's where if you prep right, you'll know how things are gonna like go, sort of. Sharpedo was my win con for this match. The whole idea was to wound his team enough because Sharpedo didn't do less than 40% damage to anything on his entire team with Life Orb. And so I was running Protect, obviously, because it's Sharpedo.
Yeah.
Crunch, Liquidation, and Poison Jab. Poison Jab because it is quad effective against Tapu Bulu, and it actually does a fair amount of damage, depending on the situation. If I got Encored or something, I don't know. Like obviously, I wasn't expecting that, but like it does do a fair amount of damage to Deancey as well, Mega Deancey.
Okay, yeah.
But Liquidation does a lot of damage to majority of his team. It one-shots, or it comes close to one-shotting Heatran. It does like 92% minimum to Heatran.
Okay.
It one-shots Lycanroc Dusk. It one-shots Mega Deancey.
How much would Aqua Jet have done to Lycan Dusk? I don't know if that probably wouldn't have killed.
I don't think it would have killed. It would have been close.
Because like if you would like ditched Protect for Aqua Jet or something like that.
Well, no, but the thing is I couldn't have done that because I wouldn't have outsped on that first. I don't think I would have outsped.
Especially with sticky webs.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. Yeah, that was the sticky web. It was the webs that did, because I knew I had to Protect because it was the only way I was going to be able to outspeed the Rotom Wash. And Electric, all it takes is one Thunderbolt, and this whole thing comes crashing down.
Oh yeah.
And I one-shotted the Rotom Wash was wounded from the rocks on the way in, but I hit it with Crunch and took it out.
Yep.
It had taken some damage
Gen
earlier in the
4.
battle too, I think.
It took the knockoff from Gliscor. I
Right,
switched it in on
that's
Gliscor.
right. You did, yes.
But anyways, so I think at that point I foddered, because at that point my game plan, once I saw you were Life Orb, was get you in the range where an Accelerock guaranteed Okos. And I think I foddered one extra thing beyond what I needed to. Because you took Rocks damage and you took out Rotom and Haxorus. I foddered one more on the off chance that I was
foddered Bulu.
He
foddered Bulu, which I thought was weird. Which I thought was weird because you gave him the grassy terrain recovery.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too, but I figured first off, I was like, well, there's a pretty high chance that I'm already in the range where it's going to kill. And so in that sense, I wasn't too worried. But also I figured, like, if he's running some bulk that makes it such that a ridiculously low roll could make him survive, I want to, I just want him to chip him a little bit more. And also, I figured it was in retrospect, this maybe wasn't a good bet. I should have figured there would be something you were running for Bulu in there.
Yeah.
But I just thought, I was like, well, Bulu resists both the stabs. Might as well throw it in and see if he failed to prep for this thing, and I can just go for a Horn Leech and win. And you prepped for it.
Failed to prep for Tapu Bulu, please.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where maybe you thought you had coverage for it elsewhere, right? And
well, yes, and the only reason, now that might have been the case on another occasion earlier in the season, maybe, but since my win con for this battle was just sweeping everything,
it's true.
That was not the case. I did have coverage for Bulu.
That's it, yeah. So, but whatever the case, I thought about that as well. I was like, if grassy terrain pushed him into the point where he teched to live this Accelerock, I was going to be real nervous. I mean, even though you would have probably died to Life Orb recoil at some point, it wouldn't really matter in the end.
And then it wouldn't have mattered because I still would have gotten, my Shuckle still would have gotten KO'd by your Mega DNC.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Mega Diancie was gonna die. For what it's worth, Mega Diancie was gonna die on a switch in.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, and if I had tanked the Accelerock, I would have won.
No, not really, because I could have foddered.
He still has to deal with half this team.
I could have
foddered the right things, I guess.
I think I could have foddered Lycanroc, and at that point, you would definitely have died to Life Orb. At which point, the best you would have had was a 1v1 between Heatran and Shuckle.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about Heatran. Yeah, that was my bad.
I mean, in that case, I had Scarf Flash Cannon on that thing, so yeah.
For some reason I thought you 2 for a second. I thought you 2-0'd me, not 3-0'd. But yeah,
I had DNC in the back that was basically dead on a switch in. Yeah. It had 15 health, and Stealth Rocks did 16.
Yeah.
It was unfortunate for me.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we should probably move on from this one. We've been on this for a good long while.
Yes, but that would be because we had both sides of the story here. I think
that's fair. It was a good match in the end. I think what I told Cossack at the end is just that it's a much better team than it was at first.
Yeah.
And he's, I mean, of course, but he's playing better too. It was more of a game, and I mean, he made me sweat with that Sharpedo. I had the thought, if this Accelerock doesn't kill, this might be game. I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
I was worried I was going to choke right there.
Yeah, and I was thinking to myself, here comes the Accelerock, I'm doomed.
Misclick Stone Edge by accident.
Oh, that would have been the worst.
I would have cried.
Because, that's
straight up.
That's when the liquidation just one-shots. Because that's the thing, one misclick would have ended it, because at that point I'd built up so many speed boosts that I could have probably outsped 2 Tapu Kokos fused together.
No, it's not a question. You were faster than everything. I couldn't have sent in Heatran or anything.
No, because Heatran would have died. But yeah, so important things, and like I said, it was it was a good battle, like you said. It was. And I made a couple critical errors and panicked, and that's what panicking gets you. So, let's move on from that. Mainly just because we are already over an hour, and we're now a fourth of the way through. No, wait, we aren't because we still have to talk about.
We can speed through the
Michael
rest.
and
Yeah, we're just gonna. Well, let's talk about Clutch versus Omega, real quick. I mean, not real quick. We can talk as long as we want.
it was a pretty quick match, so I think it
Yeah.
was pretty
Well,
quick.
okay. Yeah. Let me just say that division. Okay. Other than one match, this week was like the week of quick matches. Most of the matches
Yeah.
were really quick this week.
Everything except for Santoro v Adam, which we'll get into later.
Yes. All right. So go ahead, Clutch. Take it away.
Me and Omega have played this week, and it's a pretty weird match. Omega had finals this last week,
Mm-hmm.
so obviously prep time and
Yeah.
quality's going to diminish for him. I don't have finals until this week, so my match against Nadia, I guess, will be diminished a little bit. So we can only have like 2 days. Anyway, not important. No one cares about my life. It's so like going to the match, he prepped super quick, and we started playing the match, and we had him in like before we even got to like team preview, we DC'd, so that was a good start. And then we got
That's promising.
like 4. we started the match, and he leads Lucario, I lead Napoleon. His Lucario goes for high jump kick. I go into my Needle Queen, take the high jump kick, and try to get my rocks. Because I don't want to play another match against Victini without rocks, because I lose to Victini if I don't have rocks up. So the whole point of that was just to get rocks up, and he goes for meteor match, so I go for my stealth rocks, and he misses. So that's like a nice lucky break for me there. And so then he goes for so I get the earth power off and take the card onto the sash. And as he goes for a meteor match, hits this one, and then which will put a pretty good chunk of me, I think like 35%. And then he goes for another meteor match the next turn and misses my Needle Queen a second time. And I throw an ice beam off because I'm just kind of clicking random buttons. And I was kind of going for the off chance that he maybe would save it and use it as fodder later, and maybe chokes and goes thunderous. I clicked the ice beam just for the heck of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I got rid of Lucario, and Lucario did like nothing to my Needle Queen, and then we DC'd. So we ended up going on Showdown. A couple things happen. I end up losing. I saved my Needle Queen for later on something else, and I end up getting Terrakion on a Porygon 2.
Ooh.
And I clicked close combat and for some reason he went Crook, and it did like 85% to Crook.
Yeah.
And they took out Crook, and he goes out into Miss Magius and goes for Life Orb Thunderbolt onto my as I switch into Empoleon, just trying to sack Empoleon really because he has no rocks. I don't need the defog anymore out of Empoleon. And I was double rocks. I was double rocks, so I wouldn't have to play another match against Victini without stealth rocks because I was winning. I was getting rocks. There was no question about it. I was getting rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I sacked that off, and I go into Terrakion, and I look at his team, and he has no rock resist left. So, because he didn't bring Venusaur, which I thought was a really strange bring, but I guess you're prepping really quick. It's kind of how it is. So I click Stone Edge.
I can vouch for that. Actually, in my battle with Omega earlier in the season, I can vouch for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thought that I had for the lack of Mega Venusaur was that it was an overcompensation for the fact that we had, you had Reuniclus, and Reuniclus caused him problems last time, and Reuniclus pretty well just
manhandle him.
Yeah, as I say, that thing was going to eat Venusaur alive.
Yeah. So I didn't bring Reuniclus just because I figured he'd over prep for it as well. So, but regardless, so I go in with Terrakion. I end up picking up 3 more kills after that. I just Stone Edge a bunch of times because I ended up 2-hit KOing Porygon afterwards just because he's trying to maybe this will live, and it gets 2-hit KO'd by Stone Edge because Terrakion's an absolute monster.
Oh, yeah.
And then afterwards,
Stone Edge.
Stab Stone Edge off Terrakion, the Pokemon that could have no extra coverage moves and still be really good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it ends up like Victini. I don't know what kind of set his Victini was, so I just went into my Silvally Dragon to try and take a couple hits and get him in range of a quick attack from Zangoose, and ends up as a 3 or 4-0. think it was a 3-0.
I think it was 3-0.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. The Silvally Dragon was a really
The
interesting.
Savali Dragon was
thought.
my 5-stat Pokemon of the week.
Yeah, I remember. I think you switched it from Rock to Dragon at the last second as
It was
well.
it was Rock originally, but I ended up using Dragon just because I could take Bull Strikes better, and I can get Dragon Stab is solid against him. Anything I can hit with Dragon Stab, I can hit with a Parting Shot. So
Yep.
that was kind of handy.
Yep. So I
Mhm.
think that sums up that battle pretty nicely. Continuing down the line here, so we had boop. Let me just pull this up.
For what it's worth, the other Hoenn battle is postponed because
Yes.
it's Kennesaw
Yeah,
versus.
Yep.
Rochester.
Yeah, Nadia just got back from a trip today.
Yeah.
So
Do you want to talk? Do you want to talk about? We could get rid of Kanto right now because it's the only
Yeah.
other division with one
Yeah.
game played and one game not.
Yep. And that was Santoro
Adam versus
Adam.
Santoro.
And
That was the stall war.
I didn't watch that
So
because
it was a timer match.
Yeah, it went to time.
It was a timer match.
They have they have the record for the longest, like time-wise, the longest battle. In the
Adam's
league.
taking time. Adam's taken a timer twice this season, so
Mhm. He has the record for that.
Rochester and now Brooklyn,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
both games, both of which that Adam has won.
Mhm.
Yeah. He can stall people out with that team.
Yeah.
Well, it's a fat team. If you don't have the right prep for it, of course.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It is quite the fat team. I mean, there's not really much more to say other than that it was absurdly long.
It was a timer match, and it was kind of disgusting. And
And
I think Santoro let his breakers go super early. He let his
Mm.
offensive pressure go really
and that
quickly.
that bit him in the butt. That's a trick with
I think he lost his hair. He had Guts Heracross and he had Mega Arrow, and he lost them both within the first like 5 turns.
Yeah.
So he ended up just struggling to not have anything
Yeah.
because he ended up taking he took a gyro ball from a fortress, and then while he's at -2 defense because he just clicked close combat twice on a fortress, so he's at -2 defense. And Adam was like Iron Ball just to make that gyro ball even as powerful as he possibly could on a Heracross.
Yeah.
It's like 0 speed, 0 investment with an Iron Ball.
Mm-hmm.
So like
it was.
And then he ended up stacking something else to get Arrow.
Yeah.
And then Centaur just had no offense left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and after that, like once the breakers are gone, Stall gets to just come out and do its thing, which is
and it just sat there.
Yeah. Oh man. So there's another. So that I mean that sums up that match. It was just the offense. The breakers got let go early, and then the stall came out.
That's what happens when you lose your breakers.
Yep. As a stall player, when when the other team is willing to sack their breakers to me, I'm more than willing to oblige most of the time.
Absolutely. So, do we want to catch the other Johto thing? I mean,
let's.
You can just kill off the conference.
Yeah, let's just we'll finish out Johto. So that was Pac versus Michael and
Michael. Yeah,
and that was
that game was like a week ago.
Quick match.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they played it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
They played it immediately when the week started.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame. I mean, I think Pac is graduating this week, so
yeah.
Or
something
shout out
along those
Pac.
lines. Yeah,
get the Purdue
Congrats, Pac.
engineering degree.
Yeah.
But anyways, so yeah, it was just kind of a back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just
Circuitry went off.
Yeah.
Finally.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where I think Pac and Mike have fairly similar play styles and strategies, and
that's true.
Their
They
skill
also
sets
just kind of gave up, and they also just kind of threw random teams together and saw what happened.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, and that's what it comes down to. It was like you said, it was back and forth. I didn't watch it, but I'm gonna assume it was back and forth from what you guys said.
It was pretty back and forth.
Yeah, it just kind of. I mean, it was kind of like I feel like it's one of those. It was like one of those slapstick.
Like a Benny Hill kind of thing.
Cartoons, where it's like the two characters that are just like exchanging slap for slap kind of thing.
Okay,
that's what it reminded me of. Was because there was a lot of just going for it.
Yeah, they very much.
I'm gonna go for game right now. Stop me, I dare you.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, Mike's already kind of he's announced his intentions of he's gonna like continue running the league, but he's not gonna be coaching in it anymore for a while at least, because he's kind of getting burned out on Pokemon, which I can kind of understand. As well, especially because he's been putting so much work into the spreadsheet and stuff. I completely understand.
Oh yeah,
running the league is ridiculous. Is a ridiculous amount of work.
Unless you outsource it to your coaches, and even then, you're still basically herding cats. So good luck to that.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting match, and right now, since we've finished out Johto Division, we can definitively say right now that New York is in a very prime position here.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think I'm going to say this before I have to dodge real quick. I mean, if Cossack wins next week, if we get 2 out of 3 for the Revenge Tour, and if I can snag one against Pac this week, then I've got the spot.
Yes, for sure.
And I think that then it comes down to differential between Michael and I, and he has a lot of catch up to do. And if I put more distance in between us this week,
yes,
then
and that's what it's going to come down to is if Sam can win his match and I can win mine, then Sam's guaranteed in.
I'm pretty sure, because if you win first off, Michael can't. I think
his record isn't tied. No,
he could tie my.
Well, he could theoretically.
Oh no, he couldn't even tie my record because I'd be 3-0 and he would be 2-1. No, he'd be 1-2. Sorry.
Yeah.
So if you win next week and I win next week, I've got it. So I sign off with the note that I'm counting on Cossack, even though
the Revenge Tour 20.
Yeah, 2/3 the Revenge Tour. Cossack Revenge Tour.
Well, it should also be noted before we get too much farther. Speaking of playoff results, Neek has clinched a position in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, that's pretty obvious.
Yeah, that was announced. Mike announced
Neek and Omega both have clinched spots. Yep,
they have clinched spots.
They have tiebreakers, and Omega has tiebreakers, and Neek has just the record in division already locked up.
Mm-hmm. So, moving on, we had Always Meta versus Storm, and that was the LA Chargerbugs versus Chicago. That was talk about quick match. That was 13 turns, and it was an utter. It was, and I say this as
it was a beatdown. It was a beatdown.
I'll say that having been someone on the receiving end of some of similar beatdowns, it was a shutout. It was he got those. He had banded Tapu Koko with Wild Charge, and just chucked Wild Charges willy nilly, OHKOing everything in its path.
There was no resist. There was no ground type.
There was no resist, and thus and therefore, Coco basically executed half of Storm's team before Storm had a chance to do anything.
It legitimately died to recoil before anything else.
It did. It was brutal. And then the passing of the Swords Dances.
Swords Dance pass to Kieran Black is just disgusting.
Yeah, I'm gonna be watching out for that.
Kieran
week 15.
Kieran Black does not need more power than it already has.
No, it does not. So I'm gonna be watching out for that next in week 15, definitely.
Yeah.
Because it's very possible he might bring that against me due to all my bulk.
Meta's trying to fight for a playoff spot right now.
Yeah.
He's kind of on the outside.
He's on it's going to be an uphill fight for him. So he's trying to get
he needs someone. He needs either me. It's either me or Rochester, and it's more likely going to be Rochester because I have to win one game and I'm clinched.
Yeah.
And Rochester, I believe, has to win both.
Yeah. And so, things are like the playoff race is still very much a race.
Yes.
For those wild card slots. And there, like we said,
the best record still isn't clinched yet, though.
No.
Actually, has not been clinched because Neek still might be sitting at 10-3.
Well,
So you have
didn't Mike say that Neek was clinched though?
it's clinched the division, not the
Yeah.
like, best record.
Well,
Best record's not clinched yet.
no, but isn't it like once we take like isn't that once you get the tops out of all, then you go best record after that? Because I'm pretty sure you can't clinch 2 playoff slots by like for one
No,
team.
I was saying like best record in like the league, like not just.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's still very much up for grabs because
Very much.
you got 2 9-4 teams and a 10-3.
Yep.
Galesburg is
And
10-3.
I think in excessive's playing tonight, so that could be either be 3-ish or whatnot.
So we'll see how that goes. And yeah, that's all we know in terms of divisional playoffs. And I actually think that's where we're going to end it. I was going to do Mon of the Week, but we're already at an hour and 20. There was a lot to talk about this week. That's why I wanted to do this catch up because like when else was I going to do it? So we're actually going to just end it here. We'll resume our normal format next week. So until then, do well in your draft leagues. Remember to tech. And we'll be talking more about tech sometime, quite a ways down the line, because we still got a few more team archetypes to handle with our team archetype series. And
for sure,
we'll be talking about hyper offense next week, and we're gonna carry the Mon of the Week over from the original Week 5 Mon of the Week over to next week, I think. And mainly because Omega. I think the other reason is because Omega will be back next week. And we'll get a fresh perspective on that Mon, which will be very useful, definitely. I think. So, until next week, enjoy your battles. Have fun. Even if you have a losing record, remember, you can still be a spoiler. And you can still go on your very own #Revenge Tour.
Revenge
See
tour.
you later.